Okay, so 10.6. Shift Command A. Shift Command A. That's very odd. Okay. Okay, so for 10.6, this is going to be the next in personal qualities. And there's not that much to add in this one. It really is just getting used to a conversational format. And I will post the video of this on here in just a moment, as soon as I'm done recording it. So by the end, we'll be able to talk about people behind their backs. The goal at the end of this, and the homework that I've posted on Go React, is just this next section. And it's about talking about two people that you know. One person that you like, and one person that you are not fond of. And my dog is coming into my lap. Here. This is Augie. I will probably introduce him every time. He's got a very wicked underbite. And typical Chihuahua style, he barks at everything. And he whines a lot. Okay, so a disclaimer in general. Anytime I ask for, tell me about your family, tell me about your friends, tell me about you, you don't have to tell the truth. I mean, I love you all, but I don't really care about your personal lives. I mean, if we become friends, colleagues, sure. But for right now, I don't want you telling me or anybody else in class anything that you don't want them to know. So you can make up stuff. Just remember the lies, at least for that conversation. Okay. We're going to use contrastive structure. We're going to talk about one person and the other person, right? So that way, you describe one person, you give their name, Then anytime you're talking about this person, you're pointing here. Anytime you're talking about this person, you're pointing here. So you're going to need to sort of train yourself, if you don't automatically do this, to picture them in both places. Some people do have a challenge with this if they don't have that kind of object permanence where they can set something in space and keep it there. It's a skill that you're going to need to develop for ASL, because we're constantly referring to things in space. And reading from someone else signing, you're going to need to do that too. If you're comparing Mac and PC, remember those old commercials where you've got to be able to go back and forth. And oftentimes there's more than just two. We'll also use some descriptions, descriptive signs, physical as well as personality-wise. This chapter is focusing more on personality, but then the last thing is role shifting. And that's when we can say someone's greedy, right? But greedy, selfish, greedy. Little T-Rex claws. But a better way of illustrating that is if we describe a situation, right, that shows where they're being greedy. If you've ever had a roommate who says, well, I don't watch cable, so I'm not paying for the cable. And then every time you come home, they're watching cable because, well, it's here, so why not? You're like, chip in, right? So greedy, selfish, right? So it's better to give an example of a situation. So in ASL, we love to, same thing in other languages, I will frame things as, in ASL, we like to do this. We like to give an example. It's more of a clear illustration. We also like to give a couple of different descriptors to describe someone, not just one. If you talk about, the example I give a lot is, if you go to the zoo, in English you could say, oh, I went to the zoo, saw a whole bunch of animals. Boom, done, right? In ASL, the same conversation would be more clear if you said, so 3 examples. 3 is a good round number. You can do 2. You can 1. Just it's hollow. Remember, in ASL, we're not just giving information, sharing words. We're sharing experiences. When you describe going into a room, that sense of you had to duck and crawl in, cobwebs, it's dark. That person watching you is sharing your experience, is experiencing it with you, almost like VR goggles kind of thing. So we want to add more stuff. You'll see this sign a lot for expand. Take a simple idea and give me more. This will be important at the end of the year when you take the portfolio interview for placement into the advanced classes. Is this. If you can do this spontaneously, it's really solid points that you are using the language. But if you're just stuck in, this is how I say it in English, and this is how I sign it, then you're probably not ready. And this is a tough thing. Some people just naturally do it in English anyways. So if you tend to be sort of keep your cards close to the vest and don't talk about much, if you're an introvert, it's more of a challenge because you do have to use language and get it out. So it's gonna be a challenge. Some of the people who, if you talk to people who have not passed the portfolio, oftentimes the feedback they get is that we're just not seeing how well you use the language. The whole point of the portfolio is to show how far you've progressed. And if you hold back, then you're not giving yourself the opportunity to give. I wish I could move my picture. I wonder if I can. Come on. I wonder if I can move my picture. That's going to cover the size. Well, I'll move it up. That may be a little closer to the camera. Okay. So, again, jumping back to the slideshow. In elementary, when we talk about what are the strategies if you don't know a sign or forgot a sign, and that you can act it out, you can use similar signs, right? If you can't think of the sign for, oh no, I can't. Shy. You could fingerspell shy. So you could describe if you don't know the sign. I don't know shy, but doesn't like dealing with people, doesn't like meeting new people, that kind of thing. You could also sign the opposite. Oh, so someone has a sweet tooth or doesn't have a sweet tooth, doesn't like candy. Oh, they don't like cakes and ice cream and cookies. So, and candy, right? So you can do the opposite. Same strategies apply here, where if you don't know a sign for something or don't know how to describe someone, by all means, flip it around. Use different strategies. And that's a good thing to practice anyways. I don't know if anybody's taken any creative writing classes, but oftentimes they will give you exercises where, okay, this is the word. How can you not use this word and get around it? So those are things you sort of have to train your brain to think like that. Like we've talked about having to train your brain to think in object, subject, verb, as opposed to subject, verb, object. So conversation 3, where they're going to have a conversation, hence the name conversation, and it's the third one. And in this, I'm not going to play the video because it always gums up the recording, but this is a second video highlighting the role shifting, where she steps into a situation to show what happens as her means of description. So like I said, as opposed to saying someone's greedy or selfish, saying, oh, so when we were roommates, she refused to pay for cable, but would watch the TV all the time. Right. There's no new vocab for this unit. Everything is just based on what we've already done. It's just taking things to another level. The exercises, the homework, and you'll notice that in Blackboard, I put these worksheets that are all the homework questions. They're not assignments. They literally are just so you can go through them and practice. I know they seem kind of dumb sometimes, but it's worth just going over. They're pretty easy. Once you do them, you go, oh, well, that's an easy answer. If there's a question about them, there's no reason why you can't do the worksheets with a partner and just compare notes. That always helps because invariably one person's going to see something that the other person misses and vice versa. So in each of these, they will talk about personal qualities. Why is this one number 4? Okay, just a weird legacy to edit. So it's going to give name, describe the relationship, and something about. Notice that they're each doing like 3 different qualities, or a minimum of 3. That's a really good way of thinking about it. 3 is a nice round number, right? Everything in human society tends to like 3s. Um, so I'm going to stop the video. So take a look at these, and they also give usually like 3 different qualities, and then some kind of anecdote about the person, and that's that role shifting section I was talking about. An anecdote. I'm going to tell you about my friend. They're this, 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 and this, and one time this happened, and that's why I say my friend is like this, this, and this. Okay. That's this one. And then I include the worksheet. I've been clipping and putting them in there. It's a slow process, but I want to try to get them as many of them done as I can before I give up on it. There's 3 possible for each of the clips in here. There's 3 possible characteristics, and the person who there's another ASL teacher who kind of put this advice in here, and I really liked it, and she said we could use them. So there's 3 in most of these. There's 3 things of, hey, know this about my friend, but here's the real things about my friend. So don't think this about them. It's kind of this setup. So really pay attention to the 3 in the middle. And I put the video afterwards. So here are the choices. Here are the, figure out which of the boxes he used to describe. Then the second one is the actual description. And I like how, rather than saying 1, 2, and 3 on the choices for the second question, they did 1, 2, and 3, which is great, except they also numbered the clips A, B, C, D, E, etc. And they numbered the questions 1 and 2. So they kind of defeated the purpose. They should have said clip this, find a hand shape, clip this, clip this. It's one of the interesting things about teaching ASL is everyone's like about immersion, immersion, immersion. And then every slide is just ASL or every slide is English because we don't have a written form of ASL. How much immersion can it be? So anyway, that's why I'm being very selective on these videos, jumping back and forth. I'm explaining stuff. When I sign, it's going to be solid sign. It's not going to be SIMCO. And more of that will come as we're covering these bases. Okay, so they're going to go through each of these, circle the number. All right. Oh, that's what I wanted to say. Personal qualities, I may move this entire video down just because this is all of the personal qualities, because we're about to ask questions on it. There are, I think it goes up to H for the clips of describing the personalities. And then I put all of them together in one video in case you want to just sit and watch those. Here's the personal qualities section. I probably should just move that slide down to here. So clip 1, she's going to talk about this. We started watching that one, describing her friend. Yeah, I should move. And there is 4. I'm going to move it as we speak, just because if I don't, I will forget my to-do list. I need a to-do list to tell me to go to my to-do list. Okay, here we go. This slide needs to move down. Okay, so again, all it's doing is taking little things that we've already done and being a little bit more specific, expanding out. You'll notice a lot with these chapters, like they did in ASL 1. There we go. Okay, so they're all in there. Signing naturally will set up a concept, And then, okay, got it, great, you got it, digest that. And about two chapters later, two subchapters later, they will introduce it again and say, okay, here's another layer to put on top of it. So now I want you to, rather than just say nice things about people, I want you to think about two people in your life that you can, whether it's real or not. Sometimes the real ones are more fun. If you have two other roommates, I'm sure one of them you really like and one of them gets really annoying. And I will try, I'm trying to reach out to other ASL teachers so that we can share stories ourselves, so that I'm going to record a video about two people using the same format and try to get other teachers to do the same thing, so that you can see more in practice. And I can post those in the sharing place as soon as we get videos to each other. All right, so that's really 10.6. Take a look. Again, the worksheets are just for you. I don't need to collect them and grade them. By now you kind of know what's going on. You can sign with each other, and hopefully you've got a friend or a colleague that you can get together with on a regular basis, or at least chat with and practice. Talk about your roommates. Talk about your family. If you're at home and streaming this, I'm sure there are family members. If you have siblings, I know you love your parents, but there must be stuff you could talk about. And everyone has that annoying racist uncle, right? Who believes everything he's told. I'm trying between now and November, I'm going to really try hard to not add too much commentary about politics. But if you have questions, I'm happy to discuss my views. All right, so that's 10.6. At some later date, this whole section that I'm babbling on about is probably going to be edited out. But that's it. Personalities. It's not a really long chapter. It's not a long subchapter. All right.